What's a technological advancement that would actually scare you? That social ranking it they are implementing in China. I have a FB and I have a LinkedIn. I hate having to keep up with Jones on FB. Imagine having that affect your credit score, where you can live, who you can interact. A matter of fact, LinkedIn already affects where you can work. It is your resume for all to see. It's odd these days not to have an account when you work white collar. Black Mirror did an episode on this, but China is really implementing this social ranking BS. It would be cool if some billionaire bought a private island and invested a ton of money into cloning dinosaurs from DNA extracted from prehistoric mosquitoes trapped in amber. But it would be really scary if the cloned dinosaurs got loose and started killing people. True Ari, say what you will. I don't like the idea of humanity getting outdated. My phone actually scares me sometimes. Like that one time last winter when we had a big snowstorm. So I used a vacation day from work. My phone set off an alarm that I never set to warn me that due to the inclement weather, there was traffic on my route to work and I would be late. I never told my phone where I work. I never told my phone what time I start. I take a rather counterintuitive route to avoid some roads I hate driving on. My phone showed the traffic along that route. Fully autonomous military robots. On the advice of comments, I'm updating this to say, giant fully autonomous self-replicating military nanorobots. E2. Guess no one is getting the joke. Which is probably my fault. Yes, I know giant and nano are mutually exclusive. It was supposed to be funny. Virtual reality games so incredibly convincing that nobody feels the need to go outside anymore. Human cyberization a la Ghost in the Shell. It creates instant existential problems. And the worst part of it in the series was memory hacking. False memories implanted in some poor schmuck that he gets left with because there is no way to know which memories are real and which are fake. The way social media is already able to cross-reference my other online activities, shopping on Amazon, for example, and sends me ads and clickbait related to recent web searches. On the one hand, makes perfect sense from a marketing standpoint. On the other hand, what the actual duck? Edit. Lots of other examples of an overall loss of privacy throughout the thread. Yes, I realize disabling cookies can limit the obvious ad stuff, but the rabbit hole goes quite a bit deeper, as others have pointed out in some detail. Joke about flying cars all you want, but the prospect of every idiot on the road now being able to fly sounds absolutely terrifying to me. 100% digital media. No books, no magazines, no video game discs, no Blu-rays DVDs, no CDs records, etc. The reason this scares me is because it changes what it means to own something you pay for. We already see signs of the problems with how media is sold over digital means now. It's scary to think that entire libraries of content can be easily removed from your accessibility for whatever reason. Physical media should always be available even if it's at a premium as the popular desire for it dwindles. Any kind of implanted technology. Think the iPhone from Futurama. If it has to go inside me, I don't want it, that's what you said. Edit to clarify, I don't mean medical implants. I am aware that insulin pumps and pacemakers exist. I'm talking about upgrading for the sake of upgrading. Being the cutting edge of technology isn't really my thing anyway. But I really don't want to keep up with the Genesis if the Genesis are getting new eyeballs every other month. The end of privacy. Google and Facebook knowing how you look like. What is your favorite color? What kind of porn you jerk off to? And the same goes for the few billion people on this planet who has access to the internet. Imagine what these corporations can do with the data that they have accumulated. And as the world becomes more interconnected, and as the internet becomes more widely available throughout the globe, privacy may be a thing of the past. What was the last thing you ate? A Subway sandwich paid by your credit card? Boom. The credit card companies know where you were at this precise time and what product you bought. Turning on location services to get back home, Google now has real-time tracking of your location. Now I understand that all of this may seem like an exaggeration. However, these are realities that we are already facing and are bound to get worse. The only concern is, how will these corporations use this information? Will they use it in relatively harmless ways like targeted advertising? Or will they start to hold the entire world ransom? The surveillance technology used to monitor ordinary citizens ain't already scary, but with the computer power soon available, the data analysis could be automated to a point where privacy is just a memory. Job automation. And the sole reason it scares me is because we're, as a country, not going to have a plan ready for millions of people without transferable skills to immediately be without a job. It's gonna tank our economy like a mother ducker. I find that any explanation to the Fermi paradox is actually pretty scary, but my personal favorite is definitely, it is the nature of intelligent life to destroy itself. Google Home freaks me out. It seems like everyone is weirdly okay with speaking to a device that is always listening after all the NSA internet monitoring scare stuff. It's literally a microphone in your house provided by one of the biggest companies in the world. One that already knows how to access all of your emails, all of the places you go, sees all of your documents, tracks your search history, and owns your phones and computers. Like, why is this not considered literally bugging your own home? A medicine that eliminated the need for sleep. Can't believe this isn't listed already. Honestly, on the one hand this would be an amazing advance. A whole third of your life suddenly available to you for productive use. Whether for work or play. Amazing. Utopian. Revolutionary. But I have real fear it's a sort of final frontier for the loss of control over an individual life. Sleep is the anchor that makes it so that school or work or government, or, hell, even family and friends, have to at some point let you off, let you leave, let you go home, heal. It's a big part of what home means. But once someone can ask you to get rid of it, I think it would quickly become mandatory. You think entry-level jobs are bad now? Or work-life balance? That'd be nothing compared to this. And this is without considering the squishier issues of what it means to live without dreaming and without interruption of consciousness. And, worst of all, it's so plausible. It's not some advanced AI or physics-defying conveyance. Just some chemical cocktail waiting to be uncovered. At least, that's my fear. Maybe it'd all turn out for the best. There's something eerie about machinery being able to interact with a human's mind. Imagine a world where you know a machine could alter your memory. I don't think I could ever trust my own head at that point. Teleportation could cause a lot of worry. The idea of breaking your body microscopically and having it rebuilt elsewhere is scary, because you have no idea what could go wrong. Even if everything goes right, your friends and family could never look at you the same way again, knowing for a split second you didn't even exist. Driverless cars are going to really upset the economy. There are approximately 3.5 million professional truck drivers in the US. Add another 250,000 taxi drivers. Combine that with automation of depots and loading and unloading of goods, and that's a huge part of the population that is suddenly out of work. And unfortunately, those aren't really skills that will translate well to the new market paradigm. Whether conservatives like it or not, we are going to need a huge social safety net. This is just one industry that is going that way. There are many more as well. Immortality. We aren't meant to live forever, but some people would do literally anything to achieve it were it possible. Toilets that had robotic appendages that wiped your ass. I was always worried about jetpacks because some people are just too incompetent to strap jet fuel to their backs. Google and Facebook getting bigger. Are you that purposefully fails the Turing test to trick us? Chips in our heads. Doesn't matter what they're for. I don't want them, and I don't think anyone does. Artificial intelligence that cheats to win games. I saw a post on here of a robot arm playing tic-tac-toe and placing his X on top of the human's piece and winning. I know that was just a faulty coding, but it scares the hell out of me. If an AI cheats to win a game, then it means it has no concept of boundaries. It's a very short distance away from the simplest method of defeating this human in chess is to crush his head so that he cannot play anymore. I win. Technology scares me less than how people use it. Microwave popcorn, where you have to put the microwave inside the popcorn to heat it up. Cloning by taking a small sample of skin or hair. Sharks with frickin' laser beams on their heads. Teleportation. The world would be a giant cluster for a few years until people started learning to respect privacy and property out of a desire to have their own privacy and property respected. The day the military creates AI to be used in combat is the day I fear for our world. Automation of low-skill jobs. If you think the wealth gap is bad now, just wait until all of the driving, retail, food preparation jobs are done by machines that can be monetized by a few wealthy shareholders and executives. We've already seen it in manufacturing and more job replacement is on the horizon. We'll start to have a true underclass of people. Cause who don't make any noise. It's already pretty scary. It's scary that a lot of jobs will be gone to automation. If we don't do something about it, all the wage savings would be hoarded by the robot owners whilst the rest of us fight for the remaining jobs. Researchless snoopers law granted in the UK. Where's Snowden when you need him? Targeted bioweapons. Tweaking smallpox or anthrax or Ebola or another killer communicable disease to maim or kill an individual or specific subpopulation. Can be released anytime, anywhere. Everyone becomes a carrier, only coming down with mild cold or flu-like symptoms, until eventually being transmitted to intended host and taking him/her out. Virtually unstoppable, untraceable and unattributable, and will eventually happen. Only a DNA sample required or compiled. Think BioStuxNet. Explored somewhat in 3-Body Problem Trilogy. Context. Direct mind control. Imagine being made to follow a particular religion, ideology or political party. We can fight. Mind control on the other hand. Granted, we're already doing mind control with our media, propaganda, fake news, memes, schools and whatever else. But to cut out all that work and just make people become suicide bombers or only vote one way would radically change our world. Imagine all the loyalty you built over the years to your friends, the affection for your family, the duty and love to your children, all substituted for love, loyalty, duty, affection to Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. Imagine enough hate embedded into you that you murder your own children. Worst of all, you would be completely accepting of this. I wouldn't even know I could fight, let alone set in motion the mental processes to do so. Everything else from military robots to AI, to zombies and whatever I could live with or fight, but my mind taken from me, that truly scares me. Read an article today on DNA editing and how in 5-10 years China and other parts of the world will be capable of editing the next generation of super intelligent, stronger, healthier humans, while the West may still be under the influence rule of religious Christians who refuse to meddle with God's work. Everybody in here who hasn't watched Black Mirror, go watch Black Mirror. Automation. The idea itself doesn't scare me, but the economical repercussions do. The worst of it is I don't think anyone has a solution either. How about some existing ones? We are making very good progress on being able to sit someone down in a chair and literally read their minds and or create false memories in them. The impact this would have on individuality, privacy, human society is enormous. Nanotechnology is making great strides. Our first big commercial experiment with something on that scale was microbeads in cosmetics. We had to ban them. Imagine if microbeads were even smaller and robotic. Imagine the nanotech equivalent of styrofoam. Whoops, we put it everywhere and now we can't get rid of it. Chilling. Even if you don't consider the grey goo scenario. People are going to use genetic engineering to solve disease, but they are also going to use it to create monsters. There is this sticky goo that can be found deep inside the earth, and you can make almost anything from it, including fuel. The problem is that it doesn't biodegrade at all, and if you use it at scale, the waste products will make people really sick, and also alter the very atmosphere of the earth itself. Please no one improve on the nuclear bomb. The current tracking sharing of every sliver of personal information gives me great anxiety. I recently moved, went to my bank and changed my address. Couple weeks later I go into Men's Warehouse and my ducking address was updated for a rewards card. Since then I've been to several locations that have my updated information, and when I ask how they received it, they all say they have no idea. Being able to digitize your consciousness into a computer, Suddenly, there are two copies of you, the one in your physical body and the one in the computer. Which one do you get to be? Who's the real you? Both of them? Neither of them? From the perspective of the computer copy, you closed your eyes one day and opened them up in some digital space, only to learn the real you is still out there in the real world. Or maybe he died hundreds of years ago. Who the duck knows? You now live with the realization that at any moment someone could come along and turn you off. Temporarily, you are now an object. Or are you still a person? Or both? Neither? For this reason and more, the game Soma really ducked with my head. It is a supremely underrated adventure game. Completely digital libraries. As a technophile, I love tech, but I find few things as comforting as the feel of a good book in my hands. Anything from Black Mirror. Immortality. There is no way I could refuse it, but I think that it devalues life to the point where you just go insane. IBM's Watson scares me, because it is the next step for technology and it will put a lot of people out of work once it is perfected and adapted to any workplace's database. Futurologists are excited because it will usher in the next step of human technological evolution. We'll have free time to pursue our passions and further human progress even more, they say. That may be true, but there will be a long period where this technology just puts a lot of people out of work and it creates large levels of unemployment. I'm not on the other side of the event, so I will be in the generation that suffers if this comes to pass. Anything that involves reading minds. That gets very dangerous very fast, and there's nothing you can do to hide your secrets. Quantum computing with self-learning AI. A video game like Oasis, from the Ready Player One book. It's a virtual reality game with infinite worlds and possibilities, so people stop caring about the real world, as everything happens inside the game. Ordering food, going to school, working, and people play form their houses. Without seeing the sun, the world will become a bleak place. IDK man, what about devices that let us control our dreams? The ability to download and upload a person's consciousness. Pretty much every scenario I've considered gives me an icky feeling. A toaster with evil intentions. Teleporters. Assuming that they disassemble you in one place and reassemble you somewhere else. It is essentially killing you and putting a copy of you with the same memories, etc. You died and a copy of you replaced you, and no one notices or can tell the difference. Chip implants. Won't do it. Don't care if I become a social pariah or get locked up. Call me a crazy fundamentalist, but NWO, it terrifies me. Artificial intelligence. Westworld kinda artificial consciousness. That eventually we could create humans in test tubes better than we could the old-fashioned way. Imagine if instead of being discriminated because of our skin or religion, it was because we were created with imperfections and intercourse and not in a laboratory. Teleportation. Does it actually transport you? Or does it kill you and recreate a clone with all the same brain wrinkles and memories? If you ask the clone, of course it's transportation because he or she remembers everything. But does it? Really? I don't remember who, but a while ago, the showcased how they can take a current video of someone speaking and change their facial movements to make it look like they're saying completely different. On top of that, a guy was able to synthesize someone's voice using a few samples. Think of the dangerous possibility. Life extension research. The last thing we need is an immortality drug, because only the very rich will get it. And the last thing we need is plutocratic immortals whose moral worldview is stuck in the mid-20th century. The ability to live forever by totally replacing organs with artificial materials. This is why I'd be afraid. 1. The population would be insanely high. The aspects of jobs, supplies, homes, hell, everything would be limited. 2. The idea would be amazing, but obviously expensive. Think repo, the genetic opera, and you'll see where I'm going with that thought. 3. You'd virtually have either really rich individuals or extremely poor, and as we've seen throughout history, you get rid of the middle class and all hell breaks loose. 4. Due to the population, democracy would be virtually impossible, and we'd probably have a total world order, monarchy or communism, socialism, which would come about due to the poor class wanting and needing aid and them needing a way to fix the issues. I could go on and on, but something that could help millions would and could just as easily be abused. Immortality. It's not the living forever part that worries me, but how we decide to distribute the technology. If we make it into a thing that people buy, it'll probably be expensive and inaccessible to poorer or more disadvantaged segments of the population. I'm not sure if I would be okay with a world that allows rich people to literally buy their way into living forever, while others can't. China's good citizen score. Pay-as-you-go 6 bits that lock you in when your credits run out. Mass unemployment leading to bad political solutions. People seem to think mass unemployment will lead to UB, and it can. But it can also lead to civil war and fascism. Being able to pick out what genes your kids have. Don't want your kids to have a genetic disease? That's perfectly fair. But if we ever get to a point where the rich can't cook up the perfect child, so they can have the perfect looks, health, intellectual ability, and physical prowess, meanwhile everybody who can't afford gene engineering has perfectly average kids who get left in the dust for having a somewhat asymmetrical face, mild asthma, and the inability to do complicated math in their head, it would create a new class of Ubermensch, or what have you. Not the tech, but the fallout. Full automation will probably happen in the next century, but most of the world runs on the thought that people need to earn their money and belongings. But what do we do if there's literally no way to do that? I know the answer is basically an advanced form of socialism or even communism where all people are given the basics and an income so that society can continue and we can do other things like create and solve problems. But can you really imagine all the old, rich white men giving up the chance to make 100% profit after an initial investment in the technology? It should be up the governments of the world, and hopefully the one world order. But again, it won't happen. Not without a major shift in how we think. Bar stools with automated dildo action. Another financial instrument used to enslave the masses. First it was the dollar bill as a representation for the bank storage. Then it was mortgage or the amount you owe the bank. Then it was stocks or the percentage of a company. And what comes tomorrow would be scarier. People died for money. After the stock market crashed during the Great Depression, people committed suicide so their children could get insurance money. I don't want that to happen again. Eternal life from medical advancement. Only people in great power would be able to afford it and they would do anything in their power to limit who would be able to achieve it.